Hello, my loves. How are you? I'm back from my trip and I wanted to speak to you around all this emotion that is coming up. And my intention was to just come on because my most recent video was really talking about receiving recognition and preparing for all this gorgeousness coming in. And I recorded that before I went on my trip. And then over the weekend, it just seemed like there was a very lot of intense emotion coming up, a lot of things processing. And I know that it was with multiple people because I've had multiple conversations around this. And I feel like it's both the feminine and masculine collective that are processing things and these emotions. But as I sat down, what was coming to my mind was the winds of change are here. And it's very windy here today. Beautiful, but very windy. And I keep seeing the chariot card, and it, even as I shuffled, it came up again. And the chariot is that sort of fast moving energy. I've been seeing 555 a lot. So it does feel that the emotions that we're processing are coming up intensely, quickly, deeply, because it's preparing for the changes that are coming. I've been seeing it sort of like it's a purge before the new can settle in. And I have the safe group tomorrow and Wednesday for any of you interested in that. I'll drop it in the pinned comment. But what's been coming in around that energy is like as we move into feeling more safe and stable, we're like reaching that stabilization point where what I was seeing in my mind's eye is that we're like getting enough. Once you feel safe, you can start to feel confident in building, right? And taking care of yourself in a whole new way. And it moves from that energy from surviving into thriving. And what I'm sensing is we're at like that pivot point where we're no longer in survival mode in most cases, but we're not fully in the full thriving that we're capable of or that we're moving into. We're sort of in that threshold of the shifting point. And it's not to say that you're not experiencing thriving, but it feels like there's much more to come, is what's coming through. So, with these winds of change energy, I want to see if we can get any messages around what is shifting and anything that needs to come through. I originally intended to come on and address the emotions that were coming up, but then, like I said, swiftly, it was like the winds of change are here. So, just let them move through. Okay, we got some that fell. So, I got Skywriting the Fates came out and teachability and transmuting pain fell on the floor in the reverse. And what is coming through to me is that we've been teachable, we've been transmuting pain, we've been walking this process, and we're still doing it, right? But what's happening in this reverse position is that now what's coming together with the action that we've been taking by moving forward, what's coming forth is now like the fates, the highest timeline. The trajectory that was intended is now coming in as an overlay. And it feels like this is what we're feeling. We're transmuting those bits. How can I say this? We know that this is the process. I'm talking about the bigger overarching processes and patterns that are exiting right now for those that have been working through this process. When I come on here and give messages, I'm not saying like, oh, we're feeling this and tomorrow everything's going to be better. And I think most of you guys know that, but it feels important to address because we're playing the long game versus the short game. We're here and embodying into actual literal shifting and changing on this planet. And it takes time to make that happen. But I do feel like this skywriting the fates is going to be bringing us in more support for our processes. For those that have been addressing these issues, is there still going to be things that you're going through? Of course, but you're going to be receiving a lot more support in this process, is what I'm feeling. Okay, so what can we know or focus on or be open to receiving from this higher support with our processes? All three came. So we got the Queen of Cups, the Queen of Pentacles, and the Three of Swords. What I feel is that those of you here with me have been doing your part, masculine or feminine. You've been doing your part, you've been doing your work. You're getting more comfortable in your embodiment, and you may be experiencing some of this old heartache or frustrations or angers or pains that have been coming up, especially most recently. Things that you thought that you worked on, but they're coming up. Maybe in some cases, even more intensely than in the past. It's coming to me that this is a shared space. This is a shared heart space with all of your old connections with people, places, or things where they may not have taken responsibility for their part of the connection. You've been working on yours. They may or may not have been working on theirs. But what it feels like is it's coming to this turning point where you've done your part. You're comfortable in it for the most part. Most of you here with me, you may have some things to still clean up, but you've been taking responsibility for yourself. And so now what's happening is the shared space in your connections is getting activated in a deeper way. And that is part of the process of the skywriting the fates. It's like everyone has to be responsible for their part. There's no longer a group of people holding it up for everyone. Yes, we're supporting the collective energies and shifting the patterns and the templates. But like I've said, it's not possible for you to process what is for someone else to process. And so do not get confused with the different layers of transmuting pain and collective processing. There may be a part that you hold for the collective, but there's still going to be portions that you're not able to transmute for others because they need to be able to walk those lessons. And if you did that for them, they would never build the muscle to be able to evolve and ascend with the planet. And so it is our service to hand those responsibilities back to those who are needing to take them. Can you still support in the process? Absolutely. If they're coming forward, asking for your support, being willing to take responsibility for their part, being honest, genuine, and open about their part. And it's all okay because we can hold compassion and understanding that we all did the best that we could. But it also doesn't excuse people from their responsibility to also evolve and support themselves. This is very, very important as we're unraveling out of codependent and karmic energies. You can only transmute so much, loves. You can only do so much, and then the other parties have to come in and do their part. Okay, this is important. This is how we move out of the stagnation. This is the winds of change. This is the 555 energy. We're passing the baton, we're passing the reins to where it belongs to allow the next levels of change to occur. So allow yourself to process what's yours and then gently just ask for if there's anything that's attempting to process through you that isn't yours to process, simply ask it to return to the origin. If it's yours to process, it won't go anywhere. If it isn't yours to process, it will exit your field, loves. This isn't about right or wrong. It just is what it is. Okay. But it feels important that some of our next parts are not taking on the next parts. Some of our next parts are about moving into the thriving so the next wave can move through their transformational process. But if we keep staying in the survival mode and sitting there with them, holding it up, they're never going to move forward. And it's because we're sitting there holding it up for them. Let it go. Let them move into their next levels and layers. Okay. It's compassionate action. What else can we get around this? Okay. Wow. All right. So we have the Eight of Wands and the Hierophant. And to me, this is like, this always talks about communication, but for me, it's speaking about allowing the ignition and the initiation to happen for the next group. If you've been frustrated that you're alone and that people aren't moving forward, it's because it's time for you to let them go through their transformation. No more micromanaging, loves. No more micromanaging anything anymore. Allow yourself to go to your next levels so that they are free to go to their next levels. It's like really coming through strong, like letting go of the reins, letting go of the old patterns, the old stories, of the old need to know, to understand all of those things. Just trusting whatever you do need to know, you will. But you have to let yourselves go to the next level if you're feeling called to. Okay. If you are sick of what you've been going through, it's time to let yourself evolve. Okay. And this is what allows these next layers to come in. I'm seeing it as like a overlay. It's like the opening and the initiation allows the higher selves energy to start to come in. This is what we've been working for. We just have to be comfortable enough to trust the higher power, to surrender to the higher power, and to actually follow our guidance. And this feels important that we let go of thinking that the certain trajectory that we've been on because we've evolved is where we're meant to stay. Because the truth is as you're evolving, you're going to keep shifting. And that timeline is going to keep shifting until you are aligned with that highest timeline. So it's very important to allow yourself to continue to let your role evolve with you. Okay. What else do we got? The Hermit and the Ace of Wands and the Tower. So, going into your internal information, allowing yourself to strengthen your connection to that higher power, and allowing yourself to receive these winds of change. Okay. If you've been asking for things to change, if you've been wanting for things to evolve, then you have to be willing to open up and allow that next level of transformation to come through for you. This feels very, very important. Very important. So, whatever we've been working on, whatever trajectory we've been doing, it's not saying that we're leaving that whole trajectory, but it definitely feels like more wants to come in. And so it feels like we're being called to open up to our next levels, to allow others to move into theirs. And I think this is coming through because I think in the past, maybe some of you felt nervous that if you moved to your next levels, everybody would forget about you. But actually, what it's going to do is align you with exactly where you are meant to be. And as I'm sitting here talking to you, I feel and see and sense so much unraveling from the system. I can see like you're literally in a position to free yourself from these ties that bind, from the bindings that were keeping you in pain, keeping you in suffering, keeping you stagnant in the energies that you didn't want to be stagnant in anymore. And trusting that as you allow yourself to go through these next levels of initiation, you are allowing those that are meant to connect with you the freedom and the space to go through their next levels of initiation. This feels actually quite big. Okay. I want to see, can I get anything else that wants to come through? I feel like one more to kind of round it out. Okay. Okay. Hostilities, conflict, unrest. Wow. Okay. So it feels like that we're in this space of transmuting the old resentments, hostility, conflict, and unrest to, or you might be feeling those emotions coming up to clear out the space for your next levels. They're showing me it's sort of like you've been working and working and working. And if you've been feeling these intense emotions, it's because it's hitting a deeper layer that's ultimately, as you process the emotions, freeing you from the old conflicts and resentments and patterns. Okay. And then what's next with, oh, it's like, okay, as she's pulling in the light like this, right? Like letting this new activation come through, it's opening up, and that's what's going to help move through the hostilities. Okay. It feels like there are more old hostilities than new, to be honest with you. It feels very much like it's just like a uprooting of the old patterns, and you're just processing those to let them go What's coming through is holding compassion for yourself and all others from the past up into this moment, because the whole planet has been really living in levels of dissociation and distortion. And so none of us were really doing our best potential in the past. We were doing the best that we could with what we knew and what we had, but was it our best potential? Well, no, of course not. That's why we're evolving. So allowing yourself the space and the grace to let those old feelings, hurts, suffering, anger, resentment, all of those energies to sort of get weeded out of your garden before you harvest and plant the new crops, okay? Because you've been planting your seeds all along and you do have new seeds that are growing. And that's why it's time to weed the garden deeper, because you need more space for all of the growth and the beauty and the bounty that you have been planting, right, love? So it's this process of this ebb and flow. This is making more and more sense why some of the intensity came up to get cleared before we more fully receive the recognition and the reciprocity. Okay, because we're making more space. What's coming through is that so many of you have been doing it within your own essences and energies, and now you're weeding the garden to be receptive to bringing new people into your life. I feel like this is going back to those new connections that are ready to come in. I want to get one more. Grateful optimism, joyous view of the future. So it's like this is what she's pulling in. It's like it goes back to skywriting. We're rewriting the fates. We're rewriting the old stories of what we experienced in the first phase of our life here on this planet. And here we are now in 2024, having evolved and processed so much, we're clear enough to start pulling in the new energies and moving into the more joyful energies. Okay. Is it still a dance for a bit? Well, obviously, look at what's coming through. And then just look at what you've been experiencing. You're not doing anything wrong. Whatever is in front of you to do is exactly what's in front of you to do in the present moment. And as you continue to move forward, it'll start to show more of the joy. I'm laughing about this because I literally put joy oil on before I sat down to do the reading. And I feel like that's important, that we're not trying to fake joy, but we are aligning with it. And we're allowing ourselves to weed the garden of the old conflicts and discomforts so we can plant more joy. Okay? But as we're humans on this planet, it's not going to be joyous 100% of the time, but we're aiming for a good higher amount, right? You more than 50%, more than 75%, right? You want to move in the upper 80, 90s. That would be awesome, right? But we still have the other experiences because that's what helps us appreciate the joy that is present. We're human, so we came here for an array of experiences and emotions and challenges that allow us to grow. Okay. So some discomfort is inevitable for our growth and our expansion. But yes, we would like to minimize it and bring in more and more of the joyous growth. All right, loves. Yes. I'm going to leave it there. I feel like there's a ton processing with this. I'm going to be stepping out for a session soon, but I may come on or post something on Patreon later or tomorrow deeper around this subject because I can feel that there is quite a bit more processing. Let me know how you're feeling, if this is resonating, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, loves. Take care. Bye.